We've gone through this time in history where we've had this kind of scientific materialism. And and Christians have been slapped around by a lot of that thinking, where we have this idea that there's the world has these rules, and we just have to look at them and we can measure and we can calculate, and then we can just say, here's how it works. We figured it out. But we're coming to the end of that, and even a lot of scientists, a lot of physicists are coming to the end of that, where they realize once we've reduced everything to the material world, once we've done that, we have a problem. Because then you have to explain the spiritual stuff. So because before that, they could kind of ignore it. This is stupid. This is just stupid stuff. Let's not talk about that. We're just going to talk about this material stuff. Then you reach the end of it, you're like, okay, we encompass everything in this material stuff. We've encompassed everything. And then at some point you're like, okay, well then let's take that stuff, that spiritual stuff, like consciousness, like human experience, like identities, like qualities of things. How do you now fit that into your material world? And they're struggling to do it. So they come up with words like emergence, right? How is it, why is it that we know that something has parts, but it's also one thing at the same time? You ever thought about that? Right? You look at a chair has parts, right? It has different parts, different elements, different, Why do we think that that's one thing? Why do we say it's a chair? Why don't we just see the parts? And why don't we just see the parts all the way down? Because those parts go all the way down in the scientific world, all the way down to the quantum field of particles that are just floating around. So then they stack up. They stack up towards these different stages of unity. And then in the human experience, we see it even more. Like, why do we think that this here, people coming here, why do we think that that's one thing? Why do we think that the United States of America is one thing? How do we get to that? Right? And so in the vision of St. Maximus gives us a key. St. Maximus gives us a key is that the human person, a modern way of saying that would be something like consciousness, right? Fathers don't use that word, but it's a good word to use because people understand what it means today. People know a lot of the other words like soul. Use the word soul today. People just they have all these ideas of what it means. Like just try to find words that actually have meaning for people today. So you say we need consciousness, or consciousness plays a part in bringing things together, in making things one, right? You need a conscious agent to be able to say that chair is a bunch of stuff, but it's also one thing, that jump into unity. And that's how St. Maximus talks about us. That's what we do. That's what we are. That's what makes us special in creation. That's what makes us not only special, that's what makes us in the image of God. All right, so that's this idea of this macrocosm, microcosm, right? And how relevant it is to understand today. One of the words that the physicists are using today, they have a fancy theory, they call it the anthropic principle. Because they're realizing that anthropic means the shape of man. They're realizing that it's so complicated, everything is so complicated, that you almost need the world to be made in a way to give consciousness, to bring consciousness about. Because consciousness they're not able to explain it. They can't explain consciousness. Like they can't explain the thing by which they're looking at the world with. So it becomes very, very, and then that's when people like St. Maximus can help us get a key to something more.